Welcome to the Voice of African Library podcast.
Welcome to this episode where we're going to present academic libraries in Africa. First, we're going to start with the usual section, which is proverbs from Africa.
Yes, absolutely.
And then we're going to dive into the subject of academic libraries in Africa. The proverb for this week, what is it, Frederick?
The proverb of this episode comes all the way from Nigeria. It says, "The one who sleeps in his room knows where it is leaking."
Yes, this is very interesting. Can you explain or maybe give your insight about it?
Basically, if you're the one who's sleeping in a room, you know exactly the troubles that are inside your room. So in Africa, in as far as an African sense is concerned, we cannot expect anybody else from outside Africa to come and assist us. It is we as African and as scholars who are supposed to come up with the strategies and integrities of how to solve our problems.
Yes, so the moral about this proverb is that we have to move and we have to take actions in regard to our problems.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and this is very interesting to start with. It's very into the point for discussing the subject of academic libraries today. And first, we're going to give just a small description and definition about academic libraries. And we present them as institution or as libraries that are focused or that are linked to their parent universities and institutions.
Yes, absolutely.
And they share the same mission of their institution, and either the institution is a private or public university, they have to support its missions.
Yes.
And can you tell, Frederick, how it does function?
First of all, I think it's good for us at least to have a description of this episode. Yeah, because I think this episode serves as a valuable resource for academic libraries, because you're dealing with academic libraries and librarians, because academic libraries have librarians.
Of course.
Yes, exactly. And librarians.
Supposedly.
And librarians, by offering insight into the current trends, promoting professional development, and facilitating discussion on important issues in librarianship.
Yes.
Because later on, I think on the discussion, we'll come and discover some of the functionalities of librarians and librarianship, which are slightly different from public libraries and special libraries.
Exactly. Because if we're going to discuss now, since you gave a description of the episode and what are academic libraries, so they function as a support, as I said earlier, to the university or the parent institution. And they aim to provide the students, the staff, and all the university members with adequate resources to enhance their academic performance.
Yes.
And this is very interesting because probably people do not know that academic libraries or university libraries, they rely on funding coming from their own parent university.
Yes, because they're established to serve their parent organizations. Yeah.
Exactly. What can we say also about academic libraries, Frederick?
So I think academic libraries, although they are significant in shaping research and dissemination of scholarly content to their clientele, they are also supposed to be engaging in research and also disseminating of valuable resources to support research in the organization and also to uplift the level of the institutions as far as the research is concerned.
Exactly. So also they have to enhance the learning of the students and also provide the information and the knowledge and open resources to researchers and the academic staff.
Yes, and then you discover academic libraries are unlike public libraries. Yeah, they are normally first of all considered to be providing access to many resources, mainly books, journal, databases, and multimedia material essential for academic success.
Yes. And what can we say about academic libraries in Africa?
Basically, academic libraries in Africa, if you look at that topic, basically finding a database of academic libraries in Africa is not as easy as you think, because you have to peg them with the universities.
Yes.
Because, like, for example, if you look about academic libraries in Africa, you'll come to discover that basing on webometric ranking. You know about webometric ranking?
Of course.
Exactly. If you check about
But you can explain to the audience.
yeah,
if you
exactly.
want.
Webometric rank is whereby they normally rank universities in as far as visibility is concerned and also research output.
Mhm.
So, for example, if you look at webometric ranking in Africa, you discover that some of the best universities, which we also assume that if the university is good, then that means automatically, not necessarily, but we also it's an assumption that also the libraries are also perfect. So, if you check in Africa, I think all the trophy goes to South Africa.
South Africa, yes.
But yeah, exactly. But if you check about most probably about the origin of academic libraries, I think the trophy goes to Morocco.
Yes, that's exactly it. It's because of the Al-Qarawiyyin University, the first library in Al-Qarawiyyin.
Yeah, and I think we talked about it in one of the episodes, yeah?
Yeah, we talked about it in the history of libraries in general and oral traditions, remember? For those who wants to know more about it, you can check it out. It's visible in Spotify, and now we have it on YouTube as well,
Yes,
right?
also YouTube.
And speaking about this issue of ranking and webometrics, it is very important and very interesting to highlight it. Why do we suffer, or why do universities suffer from the lack of visibility internationally?
Basically, according to some of the experience that I've seen, I think first of all is their research content. Because, like, a good example, in Africa, we've got traditional practices, you've got traditional medicine, you've got herbal medicine, whereby it is hard for researchers to publish some of those articles in international journals.
Yes.
So at the end of the day, they're forced now to publish in local journals, which are not visible.
Yes. This brings us, let's speak about it, because I was reading a very interesting article about this. Mm-hmm. And related to academic libraries and their work, and which is the concept of open science.
Open science, exactly.
Exactly. Why universities or scholars in African universities are unable to publish in international journals? First of all, because there is a lack of local journals, actually African journals and national journals.
Yes, yeah.
So they have a lack in that.
Yes.
And then they are forced, this is what I read about, they are forced to compete internationally in international journals, right?
Yes.
But we have another issue because of this, which is predatory journals.
Exactly, and we wrote something about it sometime back. Yeah.
Exactly. We wrote 2 articles about predatory journals, and this is very interesting because this is related to everything. If the university is not visible, so the academic library is not doing its work because they don't provide the proper resources, they don't have access to proper journals internationally, and since there is no collaboration to make local journals in Africa, then by universities. So this leads to researchers desperately going to publish in predatory journals.
Yes, absolutely.
And maybe people don't know about predatory journals. Can you explain?
Predatory journals are journals that they are not authentic journals. They're just journals that are used to exploit researchers, whereby you're given you're forced to pay a small fee. It's called
Yes, APC, it is like a contribution to publish your article.
Exactly. And then they promise that it's going to be ranked in Scopus, going to be ranked in Google Scholar. But at the end of the day, your paper is not reviewed and they take advantage of your work. So at the end of the day, your work is not visible, and now Africa suffers in as far as visibility is concerned. Also, the other thing is that most journals that are also available, they're also resistant to deposit their works in an open door. It's called Open Directory of Open Access Repositories. For example, the last time I checked, I think out of the 54 countries in Africa, I think we got only approximately 26 countries or 24 countries that have listed their journals in an open door, which now also brings another issue that the visibility is not also there.
Exactly. So maybe we're gonna do another episode about predatory journals and publishing in Africa.
Yes, absolutely, I think.
And this we will be diving into this topic because it's a very wide topic and it's very interesting as well to inform people about it, scholars, academicians, PhD students who suffer a lot from desperately from publishing because it's a requirement for their PhDs and everything. So we're going to speak about it in another episode. But coming back to our topic about academic libraries, what are the challenges, do you think, Frederick, about the academic libraries in Africa?
First of all, I think the challenges of academic libraries in Africa is that for a very long time, academic libraries have been considered as the sole institution that can be able to provide access to and dissemination of information. But at the moment, academic libraries have got a lot of competitors. Starting from the diverse access to information, like the online access information, the availability of internet. So at the end of the day, academic libraries have to justify their presence. The other thing is also about funding, because now we see they depend on the universities. So if the universities don't have money or funds, that means at the end of the day, it trickles down to the libraries.
Yeah, but it's also very interesting. We always speak about lack of funding. Yeah, we already know about lack of funding. Everyone needs more funding to make a lot of work, right?
Yes, absolutely.
But for example, if we have a little budget to work with, can't we do something about it? Can't we do something with it?
Yes, I think there's a paper I wrote about innovative strategies in academic libraries, yeah? And also another paper about exploring entrepreneurship in academic libraries. Libraries are supposed to come out of their bubble and come up with innovative ways of funding themselves, establishing collaborations and partnership with the other organization, so that the issue about funding we should not be discussing all the time. Every time you're talking about shortcomings, it's automatic that there's always supposed to be the lack of funding.
Yeah, and this is, unfortunately, we have lack of funding and we always need external funding, that's for sure, and we don't have to not speak about it, but at least we can do what we have right now. And this sometimes leads people and academicians or academic librarians also to not be proactive, like they are a bit reactive and they just stand and watch and do not take like a position and action and innovative strategies as well.
Yes, and also they also need to do something about advocacy and marketing of themselves, so that at least everybody knows exactly what it is that they do and what it is that they have.
Exactly, because I was also reading a lot of research done in Africa, and this is recent actually. In 2023 in South Africa, they mentioned a lot of students, they don't know about academic libraries, what is their work. This is very interesting, and South Africa is one of the biggest countries, most countries who has good libraries, good universities as well.
Yes, exactly. We start with University of Cape Town.
Yeah, so if there is a lack of awareness from students about it, so it means that there is a lack of advocacy from librarians as well.
Yes, exactly. So I think librarians are supposed to do a lot of pedagogical training, supposed to do a lot of user studies training, they're supposed to do a lot of information literacy training to their users, so that also students, while they're growing up, they know exactly about the value of the libraries, so that they can use the library. Because if you don't show them about the value of the library, then nobody's going to use the library. And at the end of the day, it still trickles down to the university management, where they'll feel, why should we spend billions and billions of euros or dollars on a library, whereas it's not being accessed?
Yes, and also we spoke about this last week when we had the discussion about less education in Africa. And we spoke about the lack of acquisition policies and policies in general for academic libraries.
Yes, exactly. And in some places where the policies, they're just policies on paper, not being followed.
Yeah, exactly. This is very interesting because everything is connected. We cannot ignore and we cannot just see the results from one perspective. We have to verify it from a whole point of view.
Yes.
And then also there is limitation, or let's say lack from proactivity from librarians and from academic libraries to seek collaboration outside their university, inside the university and outside the university, both. Like we see little collaborations between academic libraries in the same country.
Yeah, exactly. Although I know of late, I think we've started having consortiums, library consortiums,
Yes.
whereby they're pooling resources. But at the end of the day, it's still a consortium because it's paid on it's pegged on paid membership.
Mm-hmm.
So that means if you're not paid,
that means that you don't have access.
You don't have access, exactly.
And this is not the point. If you are studying in a university, you have to have an access for every resources. Let's take an example of a European Union. Like they have internet shared in all the countries for all the EU members. You have access to all the resources once you have access to the internet from your university.
Yeah, you're talking about the EduRoam, yeah?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So we don't have that. Even we have consortiums, but we don't for open access, but we don't have access to resources. If you're not a member paying and your university is not paying, then you don't have access.
You see, the problem with Africa, and especially also the university, what we're experiencing, yeah, mm-hmm. is that the developed countries, or not even the developed countries, I think the journals, they place the country into bunches. Mm-hmm. Now it depends exactly at which bunch the university is placed. Mm-hmm. There are the bunches, I don't know exactly, I can't remember exactly the names, but they are the bunches whereby they are considered as a low-income country, completely low income. That means you're very poor. That means you have access to more resources. Mm-hmm. And there are bunches where you're placed, like you're in the middle, you've got slightly, but if you're a rich country, then you have to spend a lot of money.
But there is also, in this context, let's speak about, like you said, some poorer countries, they have a lot of access, but there is another problem in these kind of countries. Like there is a lack of infrastructure because they suffer from unstable electricity. Even in South Africa, they have interruptions in electricity every day. And also the unreliable internet connection. So that's also, that's if they have internet connection.
You see, if you look at that strategy, it also works in a way, yeah. Because now because they've been termed as poor countries, that means they know even if they're given full access, they won't be able to use them as much as possible because they always have got disrupted the internet. They don't have access to electricity throughout, so they won't be able to access. They won't be able to fully access the functionality, but they're just given so that just in case they have electricity or they've got internet, they can be able to access it. Because according to the ranking in the entire world, the two poorest countries, they come from Africa.
Who are they?
Burundi and South Sudan.
Interesting. I also noticed when I was researching about the topic that there is inadequacy and unsustainability of indigenous journals, like we spoke about it, like local journals. This is also one of the issues. And then it's not promoted by the university, it's not promoted by or supported by the librarians, then it leads also to unusage of it.
Yes, and I think what happens at times, because like for example, I know some of the universities that I've worked in Kenya, they've got journals, but the problem is they have got a multidisciplinary journal. Now, for example, I published something about library studies in a multidisciplinary journal from my university, mm-hmm. and my university, its niche is on engineering mm-hmm. and computer science. Mm-hmm. That means the visibility of my paper is not going to be visible. Mm-hmm. But now you see, if you have, for example, all the departments, all the faculty, they've got their journal, so that means their visibility will be high, because that means if somebody from the library wants to access something about the trends in the library, they'll go directly to the library journal. If somebody in computer science wants to access information in computer science, mm-hmm. they'll go directly to the computer science journal.
Yeah, and I was also checking that in academic libraries, we don't advocate for community users to use the libraries, limited it for academic staff and students. So there is also a limitation or a restriction for community users, for the general public to use the library, beside also the deficiency or lack of proper collections as well for them.
Yes, the libraries, they always do that. But also that thing, I think, why it's always like that, first of all, is also their collection. They tend to have the collection loyal to their title.
Yeah.
Academic libraries. So that means most of the time about these fiction books are not there. Because like, for example, I can give you a good example. In the university where I used to work in Kenya, We used to discover that most students who are doing engineering and doing actuarial science and doing computer science, they tend to have a depression. And I think in every semester, at least one or two students used to kill themselves. So later on, because of depression, because you see, a parent has told the kid, we need an engineer in our family. So the kid is, despite the fact he passed mathematics in all science programs in the secondary level, in the university discovered things are different. So later on, we came and be told by the student councillor, because most universities have got student councillors. We were told that the library is supposed to think about having books to motivate students, because our main focus has always been academic library, has always been academic books. So that means at the end of the day, even if somebody from an elementary school or a secondary school comes to the library, the most they can do is just to admire the library, because most of the books are not in favor. But I think that trajectory is supposed to be shifted so that it's supposed, the library, it's called a university library. It's supposed to be universal, my thinking.
Yeah, if we allow and make like a diverse collection in the academic libraries, this will promote also the usage of academic libraries from the public and from the students, because we tend, at least in Morocco, that's what I noticed, that academic libraries, that they are mostly used for their space, because they provide free space. Mostly the collections, they do not have that much that fulfill the needs of the students, so they just use it for their free space.
Yes, and it also pegs to what we talked about, the changing needs of users. Because nowadays with the internet, most users feel about the books, and they don't give them exact information that they want, prompt information. So they focus on using the libraries for the space and not necessarily for the books. Yeah.
Exactly. This leads us to thinking about literacy and academic reading. How low literacy in Africa and the rate in Africa in literacy leads to no reading culture generally, and also low academic reading as well.
Yeah, exactly. Although mainly academic libraries are not meant to promote reading culture, but they tend to inculcate the information literacy, digital literacy among users. And that one also pegs us to the functionalities of the librarians. Like, for example, academic librarians have got a very challenging role as compared to public librarians. Because academic librarians, first of all, they're considered, because they're working in a public institution, they're supposed to be at par in as far as education is concerned. They're supposed to be at par in as far as technology is concerned. So that, for example, if you're going to assist a professor tells you, I need a book that is, for example, deals with the thermodynamics. You as a librarian are supposed to be able to know exactly thermodynamics and the content of the book, which is totally different from a public library, whereby the books are classified with the subjects. So you just tell them, go to the T, and you'll find thermodynamic there or something of the sort.
But this also leads that the academic librarians here should not be only a librarian, but he should also have a degree in another profession or another field.
Yes, and I remember I think in Kenya I know of like 3 or 2 universities that have got, the libraries have got sections whereby now you say this is an art section. That means, and the librarian there studied more art subjects, and then a section of science and technology, where the librarian there studied more about technology, so that they're able to know. You know, for a very long time, even me, the universities, most people come and ask me, which is the best book in cartography? But you see, I don't know, but they think I know.
Yeah, but here, this brings us back to our subject last time about the list education. And should we have a double degree that, because we cannot promote for like academic libraries or libraries in general not to be recruiting librarians, because that's what they are doing actually right now. They are not recruiting librarians, they are recruiting people who have a general or a specific understanding for a specific field, right? But for example, if we are creating a new degree that is double degree, that can be, for example, at the end of your academic studies, you have a degree that allows you, or that has a title that you are a librarian and an artist, or a librarian and a web developer, or something like that. This is a double degree, or English major or something.
Yeah, I think you've got a point there, because I think it might make our librarians be more proactive.
Yeah, and polyvalent as well.
Yeah, exactly. Because I know in the library, especially academic libraries, librarians who have got diplomas, they tend to feel shy. They tend not to talk a lot because they know exactly. First of all, they're assisting students who are doing their degrees.
Yeah.
Them they don't have. So automatically they always feel they cannot be able to understand all these things. So they tend to take a shy figure. Like me, I remember I used to be told some time back with my boss when I was still a junior librarian. I was being told, "How comes you talk a lot?" But this is unlike librarians because librarians are known to be silent and
introvert.
Introvert, exactly.
Yeah, but this is also leads us to another syndrome, which is the imposter syndrome. Because when you don't, like, you are a librarian, but you don't know a lot about a field because you're not supposed to be a specialist. But like people, when they come and ask you about something, about like what you said, thermodynamics or mathematics or whatever, then they assume that you have to know everything about it.
Yes.
And then you have to know every book that exists in the library. And then you have to be knowledgeable of, like, they sometimes when I was working in a special library, like people came and then asked me about a subject. Like they gave me just a sentence and then they assume that I'm gonna be able to find the information in the book that they need, but sometimes you cannot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
This is also very interesting because sometimes you don't have the information yourself and you don't have to be a specialist, and then this puts you, as I said, like an imposter syndrome. You feel like you are not knowledgeable enough about the field that they are asking you about, and you're not knowledgeable about your own work, which is academic librarians or librarians in general.
Yeah, but also if you go to the proverb that they say exactly that if you give somebody fish, you'll only solve him for one day. But if you teach them how to fish, you'll be able to solve them the entire century. So at the end of the day, it comes back. Librarians are supposed to be proactive in as far as information literacy. Teach the professors, teach the students how to fish, and they'll never come back to you.
Yeah, exactly. And also, as we were speaking about literacy and academic reading, I wanted to point out to something very interesting, because in elementary school, when we don't have this kind of culture, reading culture, we are not like initiated in these kind of cultures, then we are challenged when we are at the university, especially if it's not your mother tongue and it's your second language, you are challenged to read academic literature.
Exactly.
And then my thinking, like, here, what can academic librarians do in this case? Like, what can they offer to the students who are challenged? Because first, they cannot read, or they have challenged in reading in their second language or third language sometimes. For example, when I started studying cultural anthropology, I was reading in English, and I never had studies in English, like fully English. So it was a challenge at the beginning.
Yeah, because you have, to understand, you have to translate it in French and then laugh in English.
Yeah, translate it in French, and then try also to translate it in Arabic, and then translate it from Arabic to Moroccan Darija, and then you can understand it probably in your mind. Yeah, that was a challenge. So I don't know. Also, like, this is like coming back to this education episode, which is very challenging for people who are not studying in their mother tongue language.
Yeah, because there's always a joke. They say that's not your mother language. Even if they give you a joke, you first of all have to translate the joke in your mother tongue.
Yeah.
And then you discover it's not a joke.
Yeah, and then this to come to do a summary of everything and then propose some remedies. What do you think the solution for like academic libraries in Africa? How should they act?
I think academic libraries, first of all, they're supposed to be engaging in a continuous education programs.
Yes.
Because the learners that they get on a daily basis, they tend to challenge because they come from different generations. So as academic librarian, you're supposed to be active, to be engaging in continuous education programs so that you know exactly what is taking place and the type of users that you're having. Because the users we have used to have 10, 20 years ago are no longer the ones that we have right now.
Yeah, continuous education or long life learning, and then also advocacy for open access as well, and they should be more proactive instead of just be reactive to issues. Then they have to take initiatives. There is also a very interesting thing that the work of academic libraries, which is research.
Exactly, they're supposed to do a lot of research is concerned, and then also the librarians are supposed to be. They're supposed to be also to be embracing change. They're not supposed to be resistant. There are two authors I think I've read about them. They always talk about librarians are known to be resistant to change.
Yeah.
So anytime the change comes, they feel no, it cannot do. This is how we do the things. It's not a Bible. Please change.
Yes, that's an advocacy for you as well, Frederick. Please change. You're an academic librarian. Also for doing research as well. This is also part of being proactive, which to contribute to the visibility of the universities, because this is also part of the job. I'm not gonna say that it's a task that they have to do, but it's a proactivity, because if the university is visible, the academic libraries get more funding, they get also visible, and then like librarians also, they get more credits for that. They probably get more remuneration, like more salary. This is also connected.
Yes, because you see, at the end of the day, for you to be respected also, that like for example, for a professor or a lecturer to come and ask you exactly how you're supposed to do the publishing, you're also supposed to have known how to publish. And also for you to also to be able to advocate what research is and what visibility is all about, you're supposed to be one of the key leaders in doing research.
Exactly.
Because I think sometime back, I tried to check today, but it's no longer there. There was a webometric ranking of university repositories.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, repositories are always kept by the libraries.
Yeah.
They used to do that. I don't know if the link is down or something or sort. But you see, those are some of the innovative aspects that libraries used to do, so that at least they're visible and people know exactly whatever is in the library.
Exactly.
So librarians are not just supposed to be just there. They're supposed to be engaging in research. And that's exactly what we've been doing.
Yeah.
Although I know you're not an academic librarian, but I know me as an academic librarian, I cannot come and tell a professor this, because we are the key points. We're the ones supposed to tell them this is a predatory journal, this is not a predatory journal.
Exactly.
But how can you be advocating for what you don't know or what you've not been doing?
That's exactly it. If you are not swimming in that water, you cannot know if it's cold or warm.
Exactly.
So if you're not publishing, if you don't know what kind of journals exist, what are the quality 1, quality 2, high-ranking journals, predatory journals, if you're not publishing yourself, you cannot also be collaborating and inform other staff members, academicians about this. So it's all related together and linked together.
Yes, and it all resonates with today's proverb. We're talking about the one who sleeps in his room knows why it's leaking.
Yes.
So how can librarians say we're salting research endeavors when you're not in the room?
Exactly. If you're not living there, you cannot know.
Exactly.
And yeah, this is very interesting. And also, speaking about this, not only issue, but also the lack of collaboration inside the university. So if librarians, academic librarians, are not proactive to collaborate and to reach out to staff members and professors and tell them that, okay, we need to inform the students and make them aware of the existence of this resources for them and that resources for them. We have new, like most of the universities, they put it in their website and that's it. Or like some people don't check. If they create a collaboration, they bridge the gaps and then they go and do workshops. They do a session or like a class, informative class for the students that can also bridge the gap.
Exactly. It also reminds me, when I was doing my research, I went to one of the universities in Kenya and then I asked them, how do you normally do information literacy? They told me, we have the videos in the website. I think I was about to go and ask any student if they ever check the website, because nowadays there's too much information that nobody can go to the website.
Exactly. Now, that's one of the things. Like there is an overload of information that people don't check their own university or academic libraries' websites. They can just research it on Google or on YouTube. And this is where academic librarians have to make an action and then go reach out to the students and to the staff members. If you connect with the coordinators, if you connect with the professors, then you can make a session, a workshop for students, and with the smaller effort and with smaller funding as well.
Yes, so I think all in all, what you're saying that academic laborers are very resourceful in organization in the university, but they still peg on the effort of the librarians. If they don't have proper leadership, then that means at the end of the day, the library is as useless as being there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think we spoke about every aspects of academic libraries today. Do you have anything to add, or you want to add something?
No, not necessarily, but I think as I just mentioned that three things. Librarians need to have the prerequisite pedagogical skills.
Mm-hmm.
They need to have the prerequisite education, because nowadays we need either bachelor's, master's, or PhD for you to be able to work well in a university.
Yeah,
And
as
then-
a prerequisite, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that at least you're able to serve exactly student well, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then also need to have, as you said, continuous education, so that you're able to be in tandem with the changing technology. And then the last one, you're supposed to be proactive and innovative. Yeah.
I totally agree. I think we spoke about every point that we wanted to speak. Of course, we cannot give everything in one episode, but we tried to pinpoint the issues and the challenges and also some remedies that can be helping academic libraries in Africa to make themselves and their work more visible and more impactful.
Yes, because as we say, we mentioned about academic libraries in Africa. We cannot say that this is the best academic library in Africa, because the academic libraries are pegged on the funding from the parent organization. It does not mean exactly, for example, if the funding organization is well ranked, that the academic library is automatically there, because librarians are supposed to do something.
Yeah, exactly. For this episode, I think that's it. But wait, we have one more section still, right?
Yes, the book review.
So to the section of our book review, and today I'm starting, not you, Frederick.
Ladies first, finally. I'm impressed.
Yeah, thank you. So today I have an Egyptian author with his book as well. And this is a very famous author in Egypt and also in the Middle East and internationally as well. And the book that I'm going to speak about is on the pre-Islamic poetry, which is in Arabic, في شعر طه حسين. It was written in 1927.
Wow.
Yes, and this book, when it came, it created a lot of controversies, and it has been banned in Egypt as well. But let's speak about it a bit. And this was a literary criticism book about poetry during Islamic period, or the pre-Islamic period. It was published, as I said, in 1927. And the author argued that this poetry, which was believed to belong to the Islamic period, belonged to a later period. Hussein, just to give an insight about Taha Hussein, he was one of the most influential 20th century Egyptian writer, intellect, and leader figure of the Arab Renaissance and the modernists movements in the Arab world. He was known as the Amid al-Adab al-Arabi, the Dean of Arabic Literature, and he was nominated several times, actually 21 times, for Nobel Prize for Literature.
Wow.
He studied in Cairo and later on at La Sorbonne in France, where he earned his master's degrees in literature, history, French, and Latin. And in 1917, the Sorbonne University awarded Taha Hussein a second PhD, and this time for his dissertation on the Tunisian historian Ibn Khaldun, which I will speak about next time. And who is regarded as one of the founders of sociology. So this will be for later. And in this book, he expressed doubts about the authenticity of much earlier Arabic poetry, claiming how it was falsified during ancient times and due to tribal pride and intertribal rivalry. He also indirectly referred to the Quran, that should not be taken as an objective source of history. So this was, as I said, a controversial book or criticism for the pre-Islamic poetry. And it got banned in Egypt in 1927 when it came out. And then later on, it was allowed in 1927 after modification.
So basically the book had very many poets inside or something?
No, he was discussing and analyzing and criticizing the prehistorical poetry that was considered as an Islamic period and pre-Islamic period. So he was providing scientific proofs on how this poetry came out after the Islam later on. So yeah, that was my book for today. I hope you will read it because it's very interesting and it gives an insight about the poetry, الشعر.
But you said it's in Arabic or it's also translated?
It's translated internationally. As I said, Hussein was nominated 21 times for the Nobel Prize. So this book was translated, and all his books are translated in different languages. Yeah.
So next time you mentioned something about the Tunisia.
Ibn Khaldun. Yes. Ibn Khaldun. Yes, we will speak about it. He's a historian. We will discuss it because I wanted to speak about it today. But then I was like, maybe let's speak about Egypt because someone in the comments for the episodes said we never speaks about Egypt. This one for you. Egypt is there. And what about your book, Frederick? What do you have for us today?
Today I've got 4 books.
4? Wow.
Exactly. So today, because basically the title is about academic libraries, I decided to bring a pertinent topic about autobiographies. In the recent days, the recent years, we've been having very many authors coming up with autobiographies. Apparently, you'll discover that most autobiographies are done, not all, but most of them are done by academicians. Because that means they've got the writing skills. It's totally different from biographies because biographies is written by somebody else, but autobiographies are written by storyline of the author. So we've been having a lot of autobiographies, and me as a librarian, I've always been asked by very many academicians because you see the way autobiographies are normally done, most of them is that you write. And then you pay the publisher, and then they give you very many copies. Now you're supposed to sell. Ideally, that's what has been happening most of the time in Kenya. Unless most probably, if you're a prominent author, whereby now your books are going to be marketable, they'll be bought by the publisher, and then you share the cost. But most of the time is that you pay the publisher, and then now you start hawking your books.
Only if you are, only if you are a famous celebrity, and then you don't need to pay anyone. They pay you.
They pay you, exactly. And that's why now the important aspect about this topic is, because we've been having a rising issues about autobiographies, and I think most academicians, they tend to publish their books and then they come to disturb librarians that please buy this book. And academic libraries, as we mentioned, most of the time they focus on academic articles and scholarly articles. So, like for example, in Kenya, I think we've got I just sampled I think around four autobiographies. One of them goes to one of my friends. She was studying in Hungary. She wrote a book on autobiography about it's called "Despite Everything: A Memoir of Family Resilience and the PhD Journey." She's called Diana Wangeshi. In the book, Diana dives into her emotional yet fulfilling journey of attaining a PhD on the government scholarship in Hungary. So it talks about scholarship and everything. And then we have another book by Beth Mugo. She comes from a political family. So it was about Beyond the Shadows of My Dreams. She talks about her personal life and political life. And then we got another one that most people read in Kenya, who are my age group, scholar, My Life in Crime, by John Kariamiti. This guy used to be a thief. He used to be a prominent thief. He had been in jail and the prison and also escaped. He'd done a lot of criminal activities in Kenya. He wrote about his criminal life. And then the other one is called The Hard Tackle. This is the life of Joe Kadenge. Joe Kadenge was a prominent footballer icon in Kenya some years back. So basically, why am I mentioning these authors? Because now you see, at the end of the day, for autobiography, basically supposed to be talking about you are, as an author, the significant life events of the author, the achievement and major milestone. For example, if you're an author and you want to write something about yourself, make sure that exactly whatever you're writing is going to be significant, so that even libraries are going to buy it, people are going to read it. Because there's no point of telling a library to buy a book and yet nobody can be able to stock it in the shelves. Or disturbing all your friends, tagging everybody in your articles, people to buy them.
Yes, that's what you did with your friends now. How much harassment did she do for you?
I think I bought one book. I read it and then I shared it. And then also the book is supposed to be also autographies are supposed to be end of a chapter when a life story feels complete or nearly, so that at least somebody knows exactly, this person has achieved a lot. This is way, and this is what he did or she did. And then also normally meant to preserve a legacy for a family or personal legacy. That's when the autobiographies they make a little bit more sense, yeah. And then when there's a strong narrative or message, when compiling story emerges, something compiling. But it's not always advisable that you feel that you want to write something that it does not have a good narrative and then you keep on writing, because autobiographies are going to be many, and you as an author, you're going to spend a lot of time, and yet your book is not going to be read, nobody's going to cite it, because at the end of the day, autobiographies, most of the time, they're not academic.
Yeah, but this is where the difference between autobiography and memoirs come into play. Memoirs, they can be academic. Autobiographies, it's less academic. And for example, if you want to make your life or the insight of your life a bit academic or at least scientific, then memoirs are the key. Maybe we're going to speak about the differences of different different genres of writing sometime.
Yeah, exactly. Because now that we're talking about books and all that, later on we need to advise some of the listeners about the books they're supposed to be writing for. Also, some of the publishers, because you are paying, any publisher will accept your book. But is it going to be visible?
Exactly.
So basically, today was just mainly talk about autobiographies, because I discovered there's escalating, they're becoming too many. And I don't think, because we are discussing books published and written by Africans, some of the autobiographies are not be able to read them, because, as I mentioned, the importance of the message and also their value in society.
Exactly. And I see that you are biased today. All your authors are from Kenya.
Absolutely. It was easier for me.
I'm just pulling your leg here. So I think we conclude our episode today, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And we will promise you a good and interesting topic next time. We still don't know what it is, but we will share.
Yeah, keep on gazing, most probably.
So that's it for today. And together we say,
see you next time.